Look at this photo. White rice, a small carton of milk, soup, and right in the middle of a large white plate, sitting all alone like an isolated island, a single piece of fried chicken. There is nothing else around it. 80% of the plate is empty space. It looks like a piece of modern art, pursuing minimalism. But this is not art. This is a school lunch served to growing children in Japan, a supposedly developed nation, in 2025. Hello, I'm Yoppy. What image do you have of Japanese school lunches? Colorful, nutritious, delicious meals like the ones you see in anime. A model case of shokuiku, food education that the world envies. If that's what you think, listen to what I'm about to tell you. A single photo of a school lunch shook Japan to its core. This lunch was served in Fukuoka, a major city of over 1.6 million people in southern Japan. A photo was posted on social media with the words, "Japanese school lunches have finally come down to one piece of fried chicken." It spread across the entire country. Adults who saw it were speechless. "You're kidding, right? Is this it?" That's definitely not enough. But what angered people even more were the excuses from city officials. They said this: there is no problem with the nutritional value. The calories meet the standard of 600 kilocalories. Then came an even more astonishing excuse. The photo that went viral happened to show a small leftover piece. The actual ones are bigger. What they were desperately trying to protect was not the children's stomachs, but their own pride. After that, the city held a review meeting. The food expert they invited pointed out, when the plate is large, the food looks smaller. The plates should match the portions. The children were hungry, but what got discussed was the size of the plates. In Japan, school lunch is not just lunch, it is shokuiku, education through food. Unlike a cafeteria where you choose what you want, in Japan, every child eats the same meal designed by a nutritionist, together in the classroom. That is Kyushoku, the Japanese school lunch. For busy parents, it was a lifeline. They paid lunch fees every month and trusted that their children would eat well at school. That trust let them go to work with peace of mind. That is why the shock of this photo was so enormous. The delicious school lunches they grew up eating, that was now just one piece of fried chicken. Many parents felt a creeping fear that Japan's future itself was wasting away before their eyes. And then, outraged Japanese internet users began creating a brutal comparison image. Look at this. Top left, a politician's luxurious lunch. Top right, a meal served to Japan's self-defense forces, the country's military. Bottom left, a meal for prison inmates. And bottom right, this school lunch. In Japan, prison meals are nutritionally managed to a high standard. That is why this comparison worked. And the irony is cruel. Adults who committed crimes are treated better than the children who carry this country's future. You can hardly blame people for thinking that. Japanese social media erupted. What is going on? It's worse than prison. The most neglected people in Japan are the children. In response to the backlash, Fukuoka City announced they would use tax money to hire external consultants and experts to hold improvement meetings. Social media was flooded with disbelief. With the fee you're paying that consultant, just add another piece of fried chicken. If you need suggestions, asking the parents is enough. No money for ingredients, but money for meetings. At least that's how it looked. And this is not just a Fukuoka problem. Across Japan, areas forced to serve these kinds of meager school lunches are quietly growing. Tokyo, Kanagawa, none of them are exceptions. In schools surrounded by glittering skyscrapers in Japan's biggest cities, children are going hungry. What poured even more fuel on the fire was the Japanese government's diplomacy. Months before this photo went viral, then Prime Minister Ishiba had pledged support for Indonesia's school lunch program, promising to send Japanese experts to share their know-how. There is nothing wrong with helping children in Indonesia, but Japanese parents felt conflicted. Shouldn't fixing lunches for our own growing children come first? Isn't Japan the one that needs expert support? This is not just emotionalism. A country that cannot feed its own children, boasting about supporting another country's lunch program. Through this cruel contrast, many Japanese people began to realize the way taxes are spent and the political priorities are wrong. In 1945, even in the burnt ruins of post-war Japan, adults made children's meals their top priority. The school lunch system built on that spirit eventually became a model that nutritionists from around the world came to study. Healthy, delicious, every child eating the same thing equally. It was Japan's pride, and now it has come down to one piece of fried chicken. Why did it come to this? The reason is simple: rising prices. The cost of ingredients keeps climbing, but the lunch fees collected from parents have stayed the same for decades. Why? Because politicians were too afraid to suggest a price increase, and they looked the other way. As a result, to manage within the budget, schools had no choice but to cut the side dishes. Fried chicken went down to one piece, fish got smaller, and desserts disappeared. This is the reality of the Japanese dining table after 30 years of economic stagnation known as the lost decades. The Japanese government spends a staggering $50 billion a year on what it calls measures against the declining birth rate. With that money, they could have fed every child in Japan a full steak dinner every single day. But the reality is one piece of fried chicken. Massive budgets vanish into policies no one asked for, like an abuse detection AI or a government-backed dating app, and all that is left on the children's plates is empty space. Japan is known as a country where the world's finest food gathers. But in a corner of a classroom in that country, children are quietly eating in front of near-empty plates. It is not that there is no money. Adults pay a lot of taxes, but the money never reaches the children. Parents didn't know. They had no idea school lunches had deteriorated this badly. They believed their children were eating well at school until that photo went viral. Once the photo spread, the city finally moved. They set up a review committee, invited food experts, and allocated 9.2 billion yen, roughly $60 million, in next year's budget. But think about it. Protecting children's meals should have been the government's job from the start. When prices rise, you adjust the budget. When the front lines are struggling, you step in. This shouldn't be the kind of thing that only happens after someone gets angry. If that photo had never gone viral, the 9.2 billion yen would never have moved. The review committee would never have been formed. The fried chicken might still be just one piece today. It wasn't politicians who protected the children, it was the outrage that did. And right now in Japan, the same structural problem is quietly unfolding everywhere. If no one gets angry, nothing moves. That is this country, as it stands today. On this channel, I will keep telling stories like this one. The reason I keep talking about Japan is because I love this country. Not just the beautiful cherry blossoms and traditions, but also the problems and contradictions behind them, told honestly. If you want to understand the real Japan that doesn't make it into the guidebooks, the heart behind the headlines, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.